It is November 11th, 2024, and it is a monumental day because Bitcoin has reached its all-time high. Last time I looked, it was at $86,000. And if you want to know why that matters and what that means and why maybe it is not too late for you to join and become someone who holds crypto, then this video is for you. Now, everything I do these days revolves around, I actually do long-term strategies, I do short-term strategies, and I do strategies that only require a few seconds of being in and out of the meme coins, the trenches as people call it. And if you want to stay abreast of what I am doing, I will always send you an email when I think there's a major reason for you to pay attention to what's going on. Crypto.lifestyle is for you, and also you are more than welcome to this video, subscribe to the channel, and I think today this video is one that you might want to send to someone else so that they can get started in their crypto journey. All right, let's get started. Now, I will tell you something that is always very indicative. Crypto becoming into a mainstream phase is when people who don't hold crypto all of a sudden message you and say, how can I buy so-and-so? It just happened to me 2 days ago. A long-term acquaintance messaged me and said, how can I buy Solana? Because yes, besides Bitcoin, Solana is one of those coins that are really performing very well. So that is happening right now. And one thing you should know about the world of cryptocurrencies is that it requires staying up to date. It is somewhat technical when you want to analyze when is it time for me to buy the crypto, how long should I hold it, and when should I sell it. And what I'm doing for you is I watch up to 2 to 3 hours per day. I watch experts talk about what they think is going on in the world of cryptocurrencies, and then I make it easier to understand for someone like you maybe who is not a crypto expert just yet. So that is really where I think I have my sweet spot in talking about this, because I understand normal people's language, normies as the crypto people call them, and I also really understand the crypto lingo as well. Let me say that I am convinced that no matter what strategy you hold and no matter what's going on in your life, buying and holding Bit is a good idea. And we're going to talk about why that is the case. Definitely with the Trump presidency that is upon us, we will have 4 years that are very likely going to be very healthy for all kinds of investments, including, of course, Bitcoin. Not too long ago, I sat in the sauna and I was glancing over someone's shoulder and I saw them do something that I do very often. And that is, I take my phone and I go to one of my crypto wallets. I have a lot of them. This one is called Phantom, and I check the balance. You can see right now in this wallet, I have $32,000. And I glanced over the person's shoulder and I saw he had a similar amount in his wallet randomly at the sauna. So what that tells me is that millennials and Gen Z and the generations after us will be very used to and accustomed to investing with our phones, and we want to have control and we want to have access at any given point in time. I think that is something that banks and traditional financial investors underestimate a little bit, because just 2 or 3 weeks ago, when I was in Oregon, I'm traveling a lot these days because I can afford it with the passive income that my crypto generates. I just travel all the time. So I was in Oregon in Astoria, beautiful little city, by the way. And I got a call from my banker, and he spoke for about 20 minutes about how he wants to guide me in my investments. The problem is that there is multiple generations of people who no longer want that in that form. At least that is my opinion. The way he spoke to me was somewhat condescending, as if I was not able to navigate those waters on my own, which I personally believe that I can probably do a better job than he could do for me. And whether that is true or not is a different question, but fundamentally, something is changing in how younger generations, millennials, Gen Z, and those thereafter manage their investments. Going back maybe 15 years, when I was the same age than the gentleman that I was glancing over his shoulder, there was no way for me to have that much control on my smartphone about my investments. I would have had to go to a bank and deal with a conversation that I didn't really want and still don't want. It's just not something I want to do. I want to be in charge, and I don't want to have that conversation where I feel like I'm somewhat spoken down on. Whether that is the case or not, I think it has also to do with personality. But yeah, so this aspect is something that will add even more to the popularity of cryptocurrencies. And it is something that mainstream banking and mainstream financial advisory completely underestimates. Let's take a look at what the tool that I use to organize my Bitcoin investings, and I want to show you something so that you have an idea of what the situation is. Okay, so this here is the Bitcoin chart, and I'm gonna go to the 1-year view so you can see the price evolution of Bitcoin. And you can see here at the end this is the last 2 days or so, we have this huge spike in value, and right now the price of one Bitcoin is over $87,000, which is higher than what I knew. Here you can see the volume of all the transactions, and the green candles represent people buying Bitcoin. Now, what has been said is that the ETFs managed by BlackRock, one of the world's largest investment firms that manage monies on behalf of institutional investors and also high net retail investors, their Bitcoin ETF has seen record inflows in the past 2 days, and within a matter of only a few weeks, the Bitcoin ETF holds more value than the gold ETF that has been in existence for many years, probably. I don't know exactly when, but that is very impressive. And that just shows that we are at the cusp of a new era where mainstream, at least mainstream in terms of the institutional mainstream, is finally embracing Bitcoin like never before in history. If I look at an even longer time frame, 5 years, you can see that Bitcoin had an up here, and then it went down a little bit, then it went up again. So we had a phase here that was a bull run. We call a bull run a phase where the value climbs. And then there is a cycle where the price declines, which is very normal in every cycle of investment assets. And then it took until here, October of 2023, to start the bull run again. So the question now is, how long can this sustain? And let's actually go over a few questions. First of all, how is it too late to get into Bitcoin? Question number 1. And question number 2 is, if you get into Bitcoin, how long should you hold it? So is it too late to get into Bitcoin? No. I personally think it is never too late, just like it is never too late to buy a piece of real estate or some land in Manhattan if you believe in that asset class. But definitely, if you look at it in a more short term or medium term Anything that is below $100,000 per Bitcoin is still not too late. As we cross $100,000, it might be a little bit too late, especially in the short-term time frame. Because if you listen to most experts, it is expected that as Bitcoin hits roughly $120,000, it will have reached what is called a local high, and then it will retrace, it will go down a little bit so that the market can relax, and then it might go into a next section up. This is from a crypto channel, Crypto Banter is a very good channel. I learned so much from them. And here on the left-hand side where it says November 5th, that is obviously where we are right now. You can see those green candles on the left-hand side that represent the up that is happening today and yesterday. And then, as you can see, it is expected that the price keeps climbing until roughly March of 2025. And then Bitcoin will take a little bit of a breather. It will go down a little bit. And when it has rested long enough, meaning people who wanted to take profits have done that, then there is a final segment of the bull run where the price keeps increasing. And that could happen here in October of 5, roughly. So if you have a very long-term horizon in investing, you just don't sell your Bitcoin. You just really don't care about that. You just make sure you accumulate as much as Bitcoin as possible. That is what a very smart businessman, Michael Saylor, does with his company MicroStrategy. If you think that you want to play more of a short-term to medium-term strategy, then you definitely want to maybe sell some of your Bitcoin here in March or around March, and make sure that you secure those gains in stablecoins, being coins that are tied to the US dollar, so that you don't lose the profits that you made. All of this is just the summary of what most of the experts I listen to agree on. Everything can always go very differently. We could see Bitcoin crash tomorrow, although that is very unlikely. We could also see until March a rally up to 200,000 for one Bitcoin. All of that is possible. Nobody can foresee the future. But what those experts do is they look at the past, at how these market cycles have evolved, and then they combine contemporary strategies, metrics, and indicators, and then they try to somewhat predict what is going to happen. But bottom line is, you should still buy Bitcoin if you are interested in it. It is not too late. And then if you plan to be in a short to medium term strategy, it is expected for this leg of the bull run to last to at least around March of 2025. All of this again it's a little bit like predicting the weather. We have all these metrics and models that allow us to predict certain things, but it could go very differently. What is important though is that you understand that I watch hours and hours of material every day to condense it for you, summarize it for you, so that you may make some investment decisions that could potentially generate life-changing money. This is most certainly the possibility to generate life-changing money. Let's see. So Bitcoin is at 87,000 right now. So let's just assume it does go to 120,000, something that most experts agree on. That would mean that is an increase of 30. Okay, so 30% increase of an asset within the next 4 to 5 months. Where else can you get that in an asset class that is not really high risk anymore? With the large adoption of the masses and of mass institutional investors of Bitcoin, I definitely don't think that one could say that Bitcoin is a high risk asset class anymore. It is important to always be diversified, meaning you have some of your savings in Bitcoin, some of your savings maybe in stocks and some of your savings in more traditional vehicles. But definitely I would personally feel very comfortable putting some of your retirement funds into Bitcoin. Let's talk just a little bit about what is likely going to come towards us in the next 4 years as a result of President Trump's monetary policies and also economic policies that he will most likely implement. The short is that it will all be very good for Bitcoin. Number one is he and a number of politicians that are part of his entourage, they believe in a so-called strategic Bitcoin reserve that the US is supposed to build up for the future to potentially try to counteract the large debt that the country has amassed over the years. So that is obviously a very strong case for Bitcoin, because as the United States buys these Bitcoins to store them and keep them for the long term, there's no risk that those Bitcoins are sold off to the market. And that is very good for price preservation of Bitcoin. Number two, and that is something that is most likely most important and most impactful, is the fact that President Trump wants to bring back production, wants to bring back factories to United States soil. And in order to do that, there's only one way to make that happen, and that is help these companies that now produce very cheaply and efficiently in mostly China and other offshore countries, help them come back to the US soil. And that can only happen, again, by incentivizing them financially. And how is that done? It is done through subsidized loans. So the government will tell all its banks, let's help certain key industries that it favors, such as AI, chip making, automobiles, and all these kinds of industries that we foresee to be very important for the next decade. Let's help them by making it easy for them to get loans. And there's the number of ways that could happen. It could be a subsidized loan where the government guarantees for that loan, or the other approach that would be possible is that the government gives manufacturers that it has as a preference for the future of the American economy, gives them large contracts so that the manufacturers can go to the banks and say, here, we have guaranteed income from the government for the next 10 to 20 years. So it is easy for us to pay back our loan. So please give us money. So that is essentially what will happen. And in doing so, something that is referred to as printing money, of course, digitally, is happening. At the bottom line, the result is that the US government injects more money into the landscape. We're printing dollars, and that is very good for those industries, but it also leads to inflation, meaning the buying power of the United States dollar goes down because the government prints money that doesn't exist right now, and it does so to favor the companies that are supposed to come back to the United States. And whenever we see inflation, people who are interested in preserving their wealth long term invest into assets that are a hedge against inflation. That has been gold, that could also be real estate, commodities, but it is very clear that it's becoming more and more convenient to hedge against inflation with Bitcoin. One clue of that happening is just the immense growth of those Bitcoin ETFs by BlackRock that I have mentioned earlier in this video. So if you understand all of this and if you want to make an educated bet on your financial future, it might be very interesting to become a Bitcoin investor. I, for myself, am definitely a Bitcoin maxi, and that is someone who stores all his wealth that is necessary for retirement for the long term in Bitcoin. I feel very confident doing that. And it might be a good idea for you to do that as well. I think very rarely in history we have this chance where everyday people, where everyday entrepreneurs and business people can make an incredible jump in their net worth. It is very difficult to do that with traditional investment vehicles such as stocks, and not to even speak and bother about savings accounts and things of that nature. But now, with a little bit of conviction and with a little bit of trust and planning, you can catapult yourself into the next level of wealth. And that is just something that we all want, don't we? All right, again, subscribe to the crypto.lifestyle newsletter, share this video with something, make sure you like it, and you also subscribe to my channel.